Let's dive right in. I'll keep it nice and conversational. So here we go. When was the last time you realized you were taking something personally, and what did your mind immediately make it mean about you?
I feel like I was taking the first time I was taking something personally was when I or last time, most recent time, I was hanging out with some friends and we went out together, went to a bar together and things like that. And I started to see them kind of like venture off on their own and like started talking to other people without me. They weren't like, "Hey, David, come over," or anything like that. And it kind of made me feel like I was being kind of like left alone, rejected, abandoned. I think, and that really kind of made me take some things personally there, um, because I just felt like I don't know why. Like, I mean, I understand like meeting other people and things like that, but I was a little bit kind of feeling alone, really left by myself. Kind of tough. But I've let those kind of moments ruin nights for me or ruin friendships, and I didn't want that to happen. I kind of just came up and just kind of just started talking with the group for a second. Eventually went home because I was kind of tired anyways. But yeah, that was probably my last moment.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing that. Let's stay on that just for a second to make sure I've got it right. So you felt a bit of that, left out feeling creeping in, and you were aware that you didn't want it to ruin the night or the friendship, which is really self-aware. Let me ask you then, can you give me a specific moment in that evening when you really noticed that feeling hit you?
I think I came out of the bathroom and they were like had all been like standing around a certain place at the bar, and when I went back to that same spot, both my friends were gone. I didn't couldn't see them. I didn't know where they were at, and then I did notice after a while. I was like, oh, there's one of them over here talking to some girl or kind of group of girls. Another one was talking to like one girl. And for me, I'm kind of like, well, I'm not gonna be I don't really want to interject, but after getting a drink or two, I decided I was like, all right, well, I'll go and at least say like, hey, what's up, which was fine, but still felt a little bit awkward.
Yeah, that paints the picture. I can definitely see how that moment will feel a bit awkward, sort of stepping back in and realizing you're not sure where you fit. All right, let's keep rolling forward. So, for someone who hasn't read the Four Agreements, how would you describe what this book is trying to do?
I would say this book is trying to broaden perspective, help people see, at least it did for me, help me see how one, there's a lot of beliefs that I have that I didn't realize I had, and two, how narrowing those down could help me out a lot.
That's interesting and a nice way to put it. So, it's kind of like a perspective shift, helping you notice those hidden beliefs and then sort of deconstruct them. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next piece. Why did you choose agreement number two for this episode right now? And what does don't take anything personally mean to you, especially what's going on in your life right now?
I think this one kind of comes from a place of like there's a lot that's been going on. I've been getting some pretty positive feedback about whether it's like my interactions with some friends recently, at work. I've been doing fairly well at work. I've been doing some contract work, and that's been going well. It's led to a full time job offer, which I'm excited about. So a lot of positive things, and in the past, I think I was maybe search for those. So I think that this is a good moment to remind myself to not necessarily take all of that personally. Of like, I need all of those things, but more of like, hey, I can graciously accept. And so I figured this would be a good opportunity as I went through this series to talk about this now.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like it's a really fitting time for you to kind of ground yourself in that idea. All right, let's keep the flow going. A lot of people here don't take it personally as don't care. How would you explain the difference between detachment and numbness?
Yeah, detachment and numbness is hard because I think a lot of people kind of put those in the same box. It was like I don't care, right? I think detachment is intentional sometimes, maybe not all the time, but I think sometimes can be intentional where I've chosen to detach and trying to do it more in a healthy way. Versus numbness, I feel like numbness is I lead that into more of avoidance and wanting to avoid the thing. So I may numb myself with whether that's TV or you know garbage, content or drinking or whatever. I mean, not as much as drinking, but like I know other people may and things like that. But numbness feels like more avoiding to me versus detachment. At least healthy detachment feels like something I could intentionally do.
Yeah, that's a really thoughtful distinction. I like that. So it's kind of like detachment is a chosen mindful step back, and numbness is more like just avoiding or checking out. All right, let's
Yeah.
keep it going. In your experience, what's the cost of taking things personally, emotionally, relationally, and creatively?
I think the cost of taking things personally, I think, can affect you in all those ways, right? So obviously, like emotionally, if I'm taking something personally, I'm probably bringing in a lot of like harboring a lot of emotion behind that. So like a lot of times it's negative emotion. So something that I believe. So I'm bringing in my insecurities, my beliefs, my the lens I see the world through, and I'm layering that on top of whatever has been said, done, or whatever action. So emotionally, I'm already kind of just charged there, and then just overall, like let's say even just going creatively, it just kind of like stumps me. It puts me a bit of in a cage because those beliefs make me stop thinking creatively enough to look at things in a different perspective or find a different solution. Getting stuck in a particular spot forevermore. Not forevermore, but it can feel like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it narrows your perspective and kind of locks you into that emotional lens. All right, let's keep the flow going. So the book says you shouldn't take positive opinions or praise personally either,
Mhm.
because that still gives other people power over your self image. How did that line change your understanding of this agreement?
I think that was probably the biggest kind of eye-opening thing that was said in the book. The positive kind of feedback or positive words. Um, and I think that's because everyone looked. I feel like most people look at don't take things personally as something that's like negatively said towards you or negatively done towards you, or at least how you perceive it. I think that was something that helped me open my eyes to, just like I was saying earlier, of like, oh, I'm doing great at my job. They're saying I'm doing great. They're giving me all this positive affirmation and validation. I think that could, if I lean in that, I have to always remember that is their perception. That is from their lens, from their experience. Maybe some of the folks that contracted for them didn't do the things that I did. Maybe they didn't expect me to have the experience I had. That's totally fine. It's not saying to devalue what they're saying. I want to graciously accept it, but I also want to remind myself of like, yeah, that's good, that's great. I know areas where I can continuously move forward. I know my truth about myself, and I don't want to inflate it with something that's from someone else, and then ignore patterns that I could probably be working on because of that.
Yeah, I love that perspective. It's like you're balancing accepting the compliment, but not letting it define you or inflate you beyond what you know to be true about yourself. All right, let's keep moving. Can you think of a time when praise or validation made you feel really high and in the absence of it made you feel low? And what did that reveal to you?
Praise make me feel really high. Let's see. I would say, yeah, I would let's go back to even like high school where I feel like the praise felt really really high when I was like student council president or when I was named Mr. Millington Central High School and things like that. Like I think those types of external praise was nice. Being selected for something or whatever the case may be for some special honor. I always thought that was really nice, and I found myself seeking it at times. I always learned from a younger age too that the more I try to seek something, I would never really end up getting it. It's when I'm just like being myself and doing what I'm doing, it just happens to show up. So those types of things I would seek, and I think it kind of just reinforced that kind of I need that positive affirmation or positive validation externally so much, which I think tripped me up in a lot of areas where I felt like I wasn't as good as I probably could be in certain parts. So then I would overthink it, didn't get the positive validation externally, and then I would just like get into this vicious cycle over and over again. And so it's nice, but again, I balancing that and really just being honest with myself first of like what I am and not what I'm doing and what I'm not doing to be my best self. I think that's where I focus my energy the most.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like those moments really showed you that if you start relying on that external praise, it can kind of set you up for that cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep the flow going. So, what happens inside you when you start needing that good feedback to keep feeling stable?
Oh, those, I mean, that was something that I definitely did have. I did that a lot with my parents, I would say, and with work a bit. I guess I have to be honest. Yeah, I've done it with friends too. It's like, let me help you here, let me help you there. I can do this for you. I can do that for you. When I try to do that, it just half the time I've learned that it was just kind of like blow up in my face because I was trying to again get that positive affirmation that what I was doing for them was good. Right? It's like, okay, they believe that I'm good. They believe that this is good. They believe that I did a good job here or did a good job there, or I want them to notice. Right? So I would point things out, try to subtly point things out, or something like that, which was silly. And so I think about it now. I think about it being silly, but that's okay. Like that was just me at that time. But yeah, when I don't find myself as much now looking for that. I think maybe if it is maybe still a little bit subconscious. Where, well, I'll say when I do it a little bit, I will do it sometimes with like work. I'm like, hey, here's something I've thought about. Um, but I will say that that's a lot less than what it used to be. If I were to bring up like, oh, I found this, thing that's going to be able to help us, or found this data that shows how the, customer's doing. Um, those types of things I still kind of share. But I'm not so anchored in whether or not they see it or not, because I'm on to the next thing that I'm going to be doing to help get to where I want to go, or help me get the job done that I'm working towards more than anything else. So I think I'm just trying not to anchor in an expected response, as opposed to just doing the work because you want to, is what I want when I because I want to.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful shift. It's like you move from seeking that validation to just doing it for the sake of doing what matters to you.
Right.
Right, exactly. It's all about that internal compass versus waiting on the external nod. All right, let's keep rolling. So, if you don't take praise personally, how do you still receive it with gratitude without becoming dependent on it?
Yeah. So I think sometimes that's a little bit hard for me because even in the past where gratitude, like, any kind of praise has been given, I tend to sometimes deflect it and be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Or if I believe that it's something that everyone should be doing anyways, like they're like, oh, great job, you cleaned your room. I'm like, well, yeah, everyone should be cleaning their room. That's not anything that I think we should be tossing praise up for. But I on the opposite end of it too, even when I feel like I've done something that's probably a little bit above average and receive praise, it's sometimes hard for me to receive. um, Not because I'm looking at it from a validation standpoint, because I guess maybe wasn't looking at it as a, I don't know, worth standpoint. I'm not sure, but I think now I look at it, and if I receive praise, I try to just be overall just be better at just graciously receiving and just saying thank you. I still have my moments where if I feel like the praise is for something I believe that's minimal, meaning just like doing your daily whatever, I'm not as good at just graciously accepting it, as I probably should be. But always work in progress is what we're doing.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to put it. It's really just a work in progress of learning to say thank you and not let it anchor you. All right, let's keep it moving forward. What's your most common personalizing trigger? Like tone shifts, delayed text, being left out, criticism, or something else?
I I would say probably, I feel like that it would probably be something that where it's something I feel like that's not being said, or dishonesty. I If I feel like it's dishonesty, that's probably a bit of a trigger where I take it personally. Um, which is something I'm constantly working towards, because it would definitely, if I felt like someone was lying to me, it's like, why are you lying about this? Like, just like, there's no reason. Like, I'm not a threat to you. I'm just trying to understand, and you're not allowing me to understand. Which again, if I'm taking it personally, is hyper selfish, because that's all about me. It has nothing to do with them and what their needs are. It had everything to do with like, you meet my needs right now, right? And that's not. what I'm trying to do, like what I want to do. So I go back to that. What do I want? What I want is to be a good person, be a good friend to people. But if I'm pushing my kind of like, well, don't lie to me onto them, they probably have their reasons why they're lying. There's a lens they're looking through. There's experiences and beliefs that they've anchored in that have caused them to need that lie to protect them, to guard them, whatever. And I want to be more just accepting of that, as long as it's not like harming myself or them, right? And I think in the past I would look at that as harmful to me, harmful to the friendship or relationship or whatever. And then I was just like, their dishonesty is just it's disrespectful to me and it's harmful to me, and I would take it so personally. Why can't they just be honest with me? What's wrong with me, right? Again, so focused on myself as opposed to being focused on who that person is and what their person needs are.
Yeah, I hear you on that. It's really a shift from taking it as a personal slight to recognizing that there might be a whole story behind it that's not about you. All right, let's keep the conversation going. Walk me through the internal sequence. What happens in your body? What story shows up? And what do you do next when you start to personalize something?
I think I'd start to tense a little bit from a physical standpoint. I think I'd start to tense a little bit. My mind goes into immediate protection mode, so it's starting to race and look for like all the patterns. It sees it all, and then it just kind of holds it up, and it's like, all right, you're ready for whatever is about to come your way. Um, and I just get into this readiness of like, okay, this might happen, and I think that was all part of like my previous coping mechanisms that I would use to kind of like help cope with different things that might happen in my life. Whether it's like this person might hurt you, they might leave you, they might abandon you, they might reject you, they might, talk about you badly, or they may not like you. Um, and I think, and most people probably have known that knew me when I was younger. Hey, he wanted to be well liked, So um, it's a safe space for me, I guess. But I don't think now. Um, I when I feel it now, I still have those feelings. What's better is that I can see those feelings, feel those feelings, pause, and then talk to myself and talk with the inner part of me that's trying to protect me, and then say, okay, it's okay. Let's see what we can do to kind of continue to move forward after this.
Yeah, that's a really powerful awareness. And it's awesome that you're able to kind of pause and have that conversation with yourself now instead of just jumping into that full on protection mode. All right, let's keep going. When you personalize something, what are you usually afraid it confirms about you?
That whatever is being said is right, possibly. Um, but I that's what definitely I would say in my past. It was probably they're hitting on something that I felt like maybe slightly true or have some truth to it. So I would take it kind of personally, as opposed to, I mean, I think now, um, it's, I feel like now there's probably still with that, the same kind of thought process of, hey, there might be a little bit of truth to that. So I might take it a little bit personally. May have my guard up a bit, versus me just being honest about it. And I'm trying to find more of those opportunities and like pause moments to be more honest and just take it in and say that's okay. um, and understanding that, like, again, however they're responding or doing or feeling or whatever they're saying, it has more to do with them than it has anything to do with me. um, and if it does, I take ownership and take accountability for whatever that is, and just focus on that part of it, because that's the only thing that I can control.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're giving yourself that room to just acknowledge, hey, there's a little truth. I can take accountability, but I don't have to let it define me. All right, let's keep moving. What are your go to protection strategies? Like people pleasing, fixing, over explaining, pulling away? What do you usually do?
I think in the past it was definitely people pleasing and trying to smooth things over, or like, you know, how do they want me to show up? How do they want me to be? How do they want me to, act? And is this the right way? And constantly trying to do that. I think that, now I tend to step away a bit, disappear a bit, or pull back a bit. I know that I'm still working on myself, and I know that like I can be somewhat harsh at times, maybe a little bit too direct. I know my mind has a lot of information, and so I want to be careful with my words and what I say and things like that. But I also want to be honest and truthful and direct as well, and clear, most importantly. And so I take moments, just take a step back and walk away to think, process, and present. That's like my pause. My pause may not be like 5 seconds. My pause may be like 2 days, but it's required for me to like for me to. I know that for me, as opposed to what I've done in the past.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. It's like instead of just jumping into that people pleasing mode, you're giving yourself that breathing room. Even if it takes a couple days, it's just a healthier way to handle it. All right, let's keep rolling. So Ruiz suggested what people say and do is mostly about their internal world. What's the hardest part about actually believing that in the moment?
It's. I think the hardest part about believing that most of this is in their eternal world is because of our own preconceived notions and beliefs and perceptions of ourselves and the world around us and other people and what we think we know, all those beliefs that we were pouring in. I think that's what's hard about it, because if we didn't even have a lot of those, then it's a little bit easier for us to, or at least for me, to bring in a moment to say, hey, that's, or like have it be easier for me to say, hey, this is someone else's perception, this is someone else's beliefs, this is someone else's past that's coming through and what they're dealing with, as opposed to, oh, when someone acts like this, that means this and that means this and this is why they're doing this and they're just trying to screw me over. Right? Those are exactly the thoughts that can kind of come through my head. So like what makes it hard to kind of remember that all the time again is I feel like my own kind of like beliefs, perceptions, and the things that I'm bringing to the table that again I have to like continuously work towards and address so I can show up as a better and healthier human than when I do interact with other people, because that's all I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a process of untangling your own beliefs from what someone else is bringing to the table, and that takes practice. All right, let's keep going. So, where do you confuse "it's not about me" with "I should tolerate it"?
That's hard. That's hard, right? Because you want to, you got to be honest. I think, and I won't say you. I have to be honest. I have to be honest. I have to be honest with myself, with my behaviors, who I am, both sides of me, my the dark side and the light side, the good and the bad, the whatever, both sides, right? I have to be honest about all of that, right? Because if I'm honest about all of that, that question is a lot easier about like what to tolerate versus like what, what's not for me and what I need to move out of my own life and things like that. As far as like taking things personally or not, or holding boundaries or whatever. But if I don't know about myself, then it's hard for me to do that, because then I'm, whatever I'm trying to toss up to say I can't tolerate or I will tolerate is very much not anchored in anything. It's still probably anchored in my people pleasing, coping mechanism or some sort of perfectionism thing that I'm doing. So as I've anchored into those things of understanding who I am and what I want and why I want it and why it's important to me, and I know that if I have this environment, this is how I'm going to be. This is my healthiest place, and this is how I can show be the best person I can be. When knowing that, I can then make better decisions to that those types of like, you know, do I tolerate or not?
Yeah, that's a really thoughtful way to put it. It's like when you know yourself and you're honest about your own needs, it's easier to see what the line is between this isn't about me, but I also don't have to put up with it. All right, let's keep moving forward. What's your practical reset when you feel you're so personalizing? What steps do you take?
I think the first one is pause. I think the first one is pause. Pause, pause, pause. I think that is one of the best things I can do first. Is like if I'm starting to take something personally, I have to realize it's like that's coming from somewhere. It is. It's coming from somewhere. Let's pause. Let's think about it. Let's figure out what that is. Sometimes it's just thinking for a moment. Sometimes it's journaling. It's like, why am I so on fire about this right now? Right. Sometimes it could be talking with a friend, and that's not as much because if it is triggered by another friend, don't, I don't want to necessarily like talk about another friend to a friend, but sometimes that may happen where she get different perspective. But a lot of times, if I just pause, really ask myself that question of like why and be honest with my responses, like even if they're messy responses for the beginning, But being honest about responses, it can generally I can get to a good place there when I'm feeling triggered there.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. I love that. Just pausing, taking a breath, maybe journaling it out, and giving yourself that space to be messy if you need to. All right, let's keep rolling. What does a clean action look like for you versus an anxious action?
Yeah, not pausing. I go back to pausing. If I a messy, anxious action would be not pausing and being thinking I already know everything, not being curious, and just reacting. Right, that's an anxious response for me. Um, a cleaner response, I would say right now for me, at least this version, is pause, step away, like don't continue to engage or don't continue to assume what is being done or being said when someone doesn't text you back or call you back or if someone said something a little bit sideways to you. Um, yeah, I would say a clean would be pausing and stepping away. A messy one or an anxious one, it's gonna be very messy and just react and use all the knowledge that I have to to make whatever it is that's I feel like is a threat go away.
Absolutely. That distinction makes a lot of sense. It's like the cleaner mood is giving yourself that pause and space, and the messy one is just jumping straight in. All right, let's keep going. What does the agreement teach you about boundaries, especially with people who project a lot?
Yeah, so when people project when they're projecting, which is all of us we're doing, we're projecting sometimes when we're doing these types of things, saying probably not so great things or doing not so great things. Um, I would say that the boundaries that would come from me is just being honest in the conversation with that person. Um, Sometimes I need a moment to like get to a place of being able to be honest without like trying to be hurtful or trying to like, as long as that the intent behind it is like I want to be honest about how I feel. I also want to acknowledge that it sounds like you may feel this way, but I also want to acknowledge the fact that I don't know for sure. So I want to understand because this is what I'm seeing, but I'm not sure if that's what you're meaning. So the story I'm telling myself sounds like this. Can you help elaborate or correct or help make that better? Um, so we can better communicate. And I think the risk in that is, can we trust that other person well enough that they can then also show up and be honest too, or where they try to use that to manipulate you or things like that. That's where that threat still, your my my guardian still sits and like looks for those threats. But I try to like say, okay, even if they do decide to still be dishonest or whatever the case may be, I can only be me. And what do I want, right? I want to be this type of person. I want to be a person that is as a calming sense, is a person that can can flow in the wind when things are a little bit crazy, right? It still be a calming force, right? It's going to be all right. So if I'm anchoring there and not going to a place where it's just like destructive, then then it's okay. It's going to be fine. Like even whatever comes through there, it's going to come through there, and that's going to be okay.
Absolutely. That's a really thoughtful way to approach it. It's all about staying anchored in who you want to be, even if they're projecting or not meeting you where you hope they would. Of course, let's jump right back in. So the question was, can you share a time you set a boundary without villainizing the other person?
Oh yes, yeah. So I was explaining that like I know that there's times where I've definitely set boundaries where I've villainized another person for sure. There's also and a lot of times that is anchored in I'm hurt, I'm upset, and I'm trying to. They need to feel what I'm feeling, right? They need to feel that I feel hurt, and they need to feel hurt too. 'Cause it's not right and it's not fair. That's what I used to. That's what I used to say. So nowadays, though, like setting a boundary that's not about villainizing is really coming. I'm looking at it and I'm saying it's a boundary for me. It's not a boundary for them. It's not saying that I'm trying to control them. It's more around like managing me first, starting with like, hey, what's going on with myself? I'm reacting a certain way to these certain actions or these certain behaviors. Okay, what can I do? What can I do to help resolve that myself? What can I be doing to help that situation? And then I work on what does that look like for me, and and if there's a boundary that needs to be set, is for me. Um, you know, and maybe it does impact the other person sometimes. Like there was a time where there's a boundary that I set with a friend, and I was like, hey, listen, like I feel like there's been some trust that's been broken, and I don't know if I can help you as much as I used to, or I can't, crash my place because I'm just a little bit anxious because the trust has been broken a bit. And and I know what I will do. I know that I will be constantly anxious, and I don't want to be anxious. And I know that this can help resolve that. Um, Maybe when we build our trust back up, things like that. That's what I was explaining to him. It's not fun per se. Uh, it's never fun. But if we're keeping and understanding ourselves, coming from a place of supporting ourselves, um, I think that that's the most important part. And then also, I think not to try to be like, oh, we're experts or we're the greatest because we do this. Hopefully, that shows that person that that's what they should be doing for themselves too, and supporting themselves and showing up for themselves, so they're being their best person for themselves as well. But that's if I'm being honest, like the boundary setting for me is in a healthy way. It's going to be it's not villainizing another person. It's because it's all focused on me and what my needs are and what I need to do for myself to help myself grow, and has really nothing to do with the other person.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a great way to frame it. It's really about setting that boundary for yourself, not to punish them, but just to take care of your own needs. And hopefully, like you said, it models that they can do the same. All right, let's keep going. How does this agreement affect the way you show up as a creator, especially when your content gets judged or maybe ignored or misunderstood?
Ooh, so this is going to be interesting because I'm just starting out, right? And I don't know. I mean, I've seen some things, but I don't even look at the comments of other like people that I follow to see like what people are saying about them. I don't know. I'm just, like it doesn't matter to me, I guess. Um, Now, will I probably look at all the comments of of people that have will see my videos? Probably, yeah. It's actually kind of funny. I did post a video from a Pride Parade here, and there were tons of negative comments. So many. I liked all of them because I think selfishly I was just kind of like, well, maybe this will help it. More people see it, and then it'll reach and grow, and like this will help grow the account. I guess maybe I don't know. I'm still learning a lot of this stuff, but I did see all the negative comments, and I don't know why it was easy for me to just not take it so much personally. Um, I I think where it will probably hit, if to be honest, is like if there's things of truth that come through. Um, yeah, yeah. I think if there's some things of truth that may come through, I don't know. You see the gap in his teeth? I don't think that would bother me as much as it used to, probably. But like, I'm like, like really, that's what we're gonna think about, guys. But hey, it may happen, and that's gonna be okay. I think I'm gonna have to learn from that, and I'll probably seek support and help from folks that are already doing it too. See how they step through things as well. I don't think I have to. I mean, I think I can take in feedback fairly well and not like let it completely crush me. However, I don't know what I don't know, and I know I'm going to always be growing and learning. So I think this go around of growth and learning, I want to lean on other people who have already probably done what I'm trying to do to help me step through it, as opposed to just thinking I have to do it by myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really smart approach to just lean on folks who've been there and know that you're still learning. And I love that you kind of took those negative comments and said, hey, I'm just going to let them be what they are and not take it personally. Perfect. Let's jump right back in. So we were talking about that part of you that might feel threatened by being misunderstood. And the question was what that part of you needs. Feel free to jump in whenever you're set.
Yeah, I'd say the part of me that's fearful of being misunderstood is, I think, that pride side, also that fear of abandonment side, right? I guess I look at it and I say, if I'm misunderstood and I don't mean to be, then what can I do? Because I want to be understood from the intent that I have, whether it's that positive intent that I want to have. And so, because if I am misunderstood, then someone's going to think this about me and all of these things. And when it gets down to it, like they're going to look at whatever I say through their own lens. And I have to try to adopt that as much as possible, but it's hard every day. Even with dealing with the recent situation, I know what's I feel like I know what's probably best, and to an extent, not best, but I would say I know what's best for me, and I know that it could probably make me the villain in someone else's story, and it's hard for me to always accept that, but I'm trying to do better and better at that part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's like that part of you just wants to be seen for the good intent you have. And it's hard if someone might misunderstand that. But the fact that you're working on it is awesome. So let's keep going. What's one sentence from the book, paraphrasing your own words, that you keep returning to?
I think the one that sticks out a lot is that we could live a bit freer if I didn't take things personally, and to remind myself that a lot of times that it's well, one that really stuck out is that it can be extremely selfish to believe that everything that someone does or says or whatever the case may be is all about me. If someone walks by me and I say hi and they don't say hi back, doesn't necessarily mean anything. They could be having 8 million things going on in their world. And how self centered am I to believe that it's no, well, it's because I didn't say hi the other day or this or that. And even if it is, that's something that they're dealing with. And it has nothing to do with me. All I can do is say, like, hey, if I ever did anything wrong, I want to make sure that you know that, like, I apologize, and they have to take it for whatever they're going to take it for. I can't control what's going to happen with them, but yeah, the main thing is how incredibly selfish it could be for me to really believe that everything is about me.
Yeah, that's a really powerful takeaway. And it's such a freeing reminder that not everything is about us and that we could just let people have their own experiences. All right, let's keep going. What's been the biggest gap between understanding this agreement intellectually and actually embodying it day to day?
Yeah, it seems really easy to understand, right? Like, I think that saying everyone has probably heard, "Don't take it personally," right? A lot of times that has something to do with someone's, probably saying something that's probably not that nice, and they're like, "Don't take it so personally," right? Um, but when it talks with the concepts that it talks about in this book and the perspective that it gives in this book, it really isn't as easy as we think it is to really not take things personally, right? So for me, it's not so easy for me to say, hey, just because that person says this or does this, it's hard for me to take a step back, pause, and look at what's happening and give the grace to that person to say, like, hey, I what if I was in that person's shoes and I acted like that? What would be the reason why I would probably act like that? It may not have anything to do, or say something like that may not have anything to do with me, right? Even earlier, I had a friend kind of say some choice words to me. Is also, I was kind of like, you know, telling him some things that is like, hey, like, I'm just trying to, like, be your friend and give you support and hold you accountable to things, man. Like, you tell you the truth, the honest truth, but like with care. And he shot back with something that was just, and it took me a second. I had to pause, and I told him this as I was saying it too. I said, you know, in my past, I would have taken that very, very, like, harsh, and I would have came back with just the harshest things to say, right? But at this moment, I know that that's coming from a different place. I know that's coming from your past. I know it's coming from a place of pain for you, and I I don't know what to do to help you there, but I'm doing my best not to, like, be mad about it. I mean, it's not that I can't be mad about it, but I do understand. Even if it stings at first, but then I have to remind myself, pause. Where is that coming from, right? I don't think anyone is particularly trying to just be malicious and burn down the world. I mean, maybe there's a few out there that are like that, but yeah, it's hard to put into practice. But I think the pausing helps the most.
Absolutely. And I think you just nailed it. It's like the intellectual part is easy to get, but the day to day is all about that pause and that self awareness. So it sounds like you're really doing the work, which is awesome. How else you going? What question do you want the viewer to sit with after this episode?
That's a great question. I'm no guru. I'm nothing special. I make mistakes every day. Like I'm not perfect at this by any means at all. Um, but I would say maybe ask the same question that I would ask myself, which is getting on to getting to know myself first, which is what do I want? What I want from an interaction I'm having with someone, from a job I'm doing, from the place I live at, from whatever it is what do I want? Maybe just start with that question. And if we go back to that answer, I think it can kind of help curb things when we pause. What do I want? So I think starting with that maybe might be helpful. At least it has been for me. Again, I'm not any kind of guru. I'm not trying to say I have any answers, but that's just something that's worked for me.
Yeah, and that's a really relatable and honest place to come from. Just asking, what do I want, can really help people center themselves. So it's a great question to leave them with. All right, let's wrap it up. If you could leave the audience with one honest line, something you're still practicing, not something you master, what would it be?
That's great. What would I leave with one line that I'm maybe practicing, not mastering? I would say just assume positive intent, maybe, and be curious. And if you feel like you can't do that with that person, or you don't feel like you should do that with that person because that person isn't, I don't know, maybe it's not that they're not that close to you in your life, or it's not that important for you in your life, then don't spend any time in it. But if it is someone close to you and they're saying something that may be triggering, something that maybe makes you feel like you're taking it personally, try to pause and assume positive intent first, because they may be coming from a place of pain or hurt, and then be curious and just ask, well, where's that coming from, and what like let's work together on it. I think that can kind of that's the things to do. That's the things we can try, right? I would leave it with that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful note to end on. Just that idea of assuming positive intent and staying curious is a really kind, human way to approach it. So thanks for sharing that. This is really great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of format of episode. Have a little AI assistance with the interview style. But yeah, when you get a chance, check out the book, uh, The Four Agreements. This is the second agreement. Don't take anything personally. And again, some very interesting things. The next video in the series that will be coming out, I might do it the same format, maybe do something different. But the next part of the series is don't make assumptions. And again, something that seems really, really simple, but if we think about where assumptions come from and we layer back on that beliefs that we've carried throughout our lives, that's probably where those assumptions are coming from. There's a different perspective that can come up through this. So I'm excited to share it with you guys, and I hope you come back to see it. Thanks.
Absolutely. That sounds like it's going to be a really interesting next episode. And I love that you're kind of exploring each agreement and digging into the layers. So I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy it. Thanks for having me here and good luck with the next one.
Wow.